You're charged with sexual abuse of animals and pornography involving juveniles. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you were sentenced to 5 years and 6 months on June the 21st of 2021. So that's just been 3 years ago.
Right.
You're sentenced to 5 years. You're eligible for parole on September the 6th of 2024. And that's why you're requesting this parole hearing. But you're full-time, you're gonna get out January of 2026 anyway. So having said all of that, I want to turn it over to Mr. Freeman because he has some.
Okay, Mr. You're back. I know you're in a parish jail, but
Yes, sir.
for us to consider you, you have to complete the 4 phases of sex offender class. Our program. So we're going to get them to move you to a institution where you can get that class and also get a psych eval.
Okay.
Okay, is that, I mean, that's what we need. We got it. Okay, good
Right.
luck.
So
we'll deny today, probably get you sent to Hunt to take your class.
How long is the class?
The class is 4 phases. You probably, I don't believe you're gonna be able to finish it before you're gonna get out. But we will check and see, because you got 1 year left to do, and you got 4 phases of sex offender class.
which there's been something's gotten boogered up because you should have.
Yeah, they should have sent you.
You should have been taking sex classes.
Treat.
Yeah, so we'll try to
get it
get to the
started
bottom
for
of
you.
that. But you need those classes before you can be released. So to conclude today, we need to go ahead, I assume, and have a formal
Yeah,
vote.
my vote is to deny, and get you sent to Hunt or to another institution where they have sex offender treatment. And also while you're there, get a psych eval.
Okay.
My vote is also to deny based on your need for additional education.
And I concur with them, and it's really just procedural because the law says that you gotta have it. You gotta have sexual those courses anyway before you can be released, which is not too long down the road. So anyway, today was just practice. Anyway, you're denied, and good luck.
Is there anything I need to do? Oh, it's gone.
I don't know if you need this anymore since we're gonna be moving it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take care of it from up here. We'll make all the recommendations and get you sent where you need to be.
Okay, and
All
is
right.
there anything I need to do to have another hearing?
After you finish the classes, you can reapply.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Well,
Okay, that concludes all the hearings that we're going to hold today. And the time is 10:15 on the 18th of April, 2024. We're dismissed.
Cockroach. You know, this is madness. We're going to point out to the complete hypocrisy and insanity of the district attorney's office. We're not going to rage at the roach. You know, we know the roaches exist. We see them all the time. This hearing, I am going to designate my rage to the district attorney. And frankly, it should go to the judge too for accepting this deal. We hear every story from district attorneys all day long. We don't want to prosecute cases against those who harm children. It would put too much stress on the child. We don't want to prosecute those who harm children. It's too much for the family. They've gone through too much. You don't know what a jury's going to do. You know, they come up with many different stories, and we've played both sides. We played devil's advocate. There's something to be said about that. There certainly is. But they would never say the same thing if it was a homicide case. Would they say they don't want to put the child through more stress? They don't want to put the family through more? No, they wouldn't care. They wouldn't care if the man who, They just wouldn't care. All of that in this case is thrown completely aside. They don't need to put a child on the stand. They don't need to put anyone except the detectives on the stand. He was caught with over 450 counts of CP under the age of 13. We know, for all of us who are aware of this stuff, that that's quite under the age of 13. Wow, that leaves, not to mention the animal charges, right? Not to mention the animal sexual abuse charges. You can't make it up. What would it have taken for the DA, and we'll show you this DA in a second. Oh, he makes sure that he's in the article talking about how he locks him up. We'll go over his bio. We'll go over a recording of him railing against someone who might get out for homicide. But for this, he doesn't care. It's just a child. And you know he doesn't care, because this is the epitome of negligence. This is the epitome of not caring. This monster got a slap on the wrist sentence. He is young. He's under 40 years old. He's going to go out into the public, and what do you think someone like this is going to do? He is a clear danger to every child and, dare I say, animal. You're holding a royal flush, DA. These are indisputable facts. Look at the investigation they have going down on the arrest. This was a multi-force investigation that caught him. They don't say anything. This is just like a neighbor filming it or something. It's all, looks like a normal guy, right? That might be his truck in the driveway. It's a nice truck. He's got a nice house. He's the biggest risk. He's the biggest risk. And they're going to go cuff him up, and then they're going to go and they're going to say, hey, you know what? We have all the proof of what you've done. I mean, it's all the images. We've actually tracked you down. We've been watching you, and we're going to arrest you. But instead of throwing the book at you and hitting you for each count as the legislation allows it, no, we're just going to say, we don't want to go to trial. Let's there you go. They're cuffing him up. Good job. Good job. You imagine all the money and resources that were put into arresting him, into locking him up, only for them to do do absolutely nothing with it. How can you justify that? He was taken into custody after law enforcement spent hours at a home in Ascension Parish Thursday. Was booked on child porn charges. Law enforcement officers were first spotted outside the home and Thursday morning, in Louisiana Bureau of Investigation, which is part of the Attorney General's office, said it arrived around 8:15 a.m. and agents announced remained there for hours. According to jail records, he was 34 when he was booked on CP, on juveniles, and crime against nature. He has been seen taking away handcuffs shortly before 11 a.m. They said that he was charged with 450 counts of possession of CP involving juveniles under the age of 13, 60 counts sexual abuse of an animal. That means he's actually sexually abusing an animal. Think about that. Isn't that a federal offense now? I thought that was a federal offense now. Couldn't the feds have come in and gotten him on this? This arrest was a result of joint investigation in the Louisiana Bureau of Investigation Cybercrime Unit, Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office, and the Louisiana State Police and Homeland Security Investigations Federal Bureau of Investigation. I mean, the amount of money that probably went into doing this, it's got to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, once it all adds up. And they give him 5 years. The investigation was initiated following a tip from the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, says the attorney's office. Then we go to our district attorney, right? Not the ADA. This is the actual district attorney. An accession man is heading to prison after pleading guilty to multiple sex crimes. Police arrested Christopher, who's now 35, on hundreds of charges involving CP and animal sexual abuse. He was sentenced to 5 years and 6 months. District Attorney Ricky Babin said Friday the arrest came in July 2020 after they got his order. Oh, the DA is so proud of himself. Let's see this wonderful DA, this really brilliant guy. So he graduated in 1985 from LSU University, earning his degree, continued, Okay, he practiced civil law beginning in 1992 and began his practice in criminal court as a criminal defense attorney in 23rd District. In 1995, he joined the 23rd District Attorney's Office, prosecuting sex offenses. Well, I like how he puts that as his first. Okay, that makes us feel real safe here, right? We feel real secure. That's what you were prosecuting. Drug cases and handling civil litigation. In 2002, he was appointed the first district attorney, and he served in that capacity through 2008. In the fall of 2008, he was elected to his first term as district attorney and was sworn in 2009. I would love for his constituencies to see that this is how he... Now, look what he says here. This is what they care about. A combined residency of upwards of 170,000 people. The office handles approximately 3,500 felonies and 24,000 misdemeanors annually. And that is an insane number, 3,500. You just do the multiplier, and it's impossible to prosecute all of them. But this is a case where you're holding all the cards. Let him go to court. He's not going to win. There's forensic evidence and proof of what he's done. So this excuse about going to court does not exist in this case. And you cannot have a conscience to give such a small sentence, in my opinion. He secured his second term in office, an unopposed candidate. Wow, that's reassuring. Unopposed. Here he is. Here he is. Here he is ranting about homicide getting out. And what's interesting is that we actually covered these cases, these parole hearings. And as far as I recall, and Richard, correct me if I'm wrong, this DA did not show up to those hearings to contest these inmates getting out. No, instead he just takes an interview so he can brag, show the public as if he does care, but he doesn't show up to the actual hearings, as far as I recall.
This is just two of the ones that's on my desk.
District Attorney Ricky Babin is trying to wrap his brain around something that he says makes absolutely no sense.
Damn it, life in prison is life in prison.
Over the past 30 days, he's had 2 lifers come up for parole. The parole board denied Lucas Roddy's parole this month. But now another convict could get out of prison. These pictures are from a gruesome 1986 murder in Gonzales.
A lady who was a waitress was leaving a restaurant late at night. A lady who was a waitress was leaving a restaurant late at night, had car trouble. The guy who's supposedly going to help her jump her car off brutally beat her to death with a tire tool.
To Babin's surprise, he was notified the killer, Derek Perkins, is up for parole next month. It's all part of a years-long effort to reform the criminal justice system.
In a matter of months, he could be walking out of prison. And it's just hard for the victims to relive this.
We saw it happen last August.
Investigators found their bodies.
David Chenevert, now 64 years old, convicted of and confessed to the grisly murders of Evelyn McIntyre and Michael Brown more than 40 years ago in Baton Rouge.
Come with me, son.
He pleaded guilty and got a life sentence. He was released from prison after being granted parole. Our own John Pastorek, one of the first reporters on the scene following the murders.
Back in those days in 1979, bodies found in a dumpster. They've been stabbed multiple times. That just doesn't happen in Baton Rouge.
Babin says what's happening requires change.
If somebody's going to get life imprisonment and it's not really life, then the victims and the public in general should be told.
Babin says district attorneys around the state are also pushing for a truth in sentencing bill that would let victims know the exact minimum amount of years a convict could face when they're given their sentences.
Truth in sentencing, right? Hey, I agree. That is a good bill. But how can you go to sleep at night knowing that all you did is kick the ball down the road for a handful of years for a monster? I just don't get it. Maybe you're just so burnt out as a DA that you just don't care anymore. But that means that what you're saying is that you just don't care about children or animals anymore. But you'll make sure that you get up, you have the film crew come in, the whole production, about how you're yelling about, it's unfair that people are getting out. And maybe it's because the family of the victims, or because it was a big news story, he felt like doing that, right? That's just my opinion. I don't know how you can get around it. Here's a legislation that his office was able to prosecute on. Whoever commits the offense of sexual abuse of an animal shall not be fined more than $2,000 or imprisoned with or without hard labor for not more than 5 years, or both. So just for the animal charge, one charge, he could have gotten a maximum of 5 years. And we know that there were how many charges again? There were 60 counts. 60 counts of what he did to his animal. And I bet you they had that proof because it was probably on video. So that's a life sentence right there. And then for the children, whoever intentionally possesses CP, okay, this is possessing CP involving juveniles, shall be fined not more than $50,000 and shall be imprisoned or hard labor for not less than 5 or more than 20 years. So just on one count of CP, he could have gotten a 20-year sentence. This is what the legislation allows. Yet his total sentence was 5 years and 6 months. Remember, he had over 450 counts of CP. Make it make sense. I have always, out of any charge, this is the charge that is the most simple to throw the book at. It's the most simple to prosecute. I cannot understand how he can put up any defense. None. You literally have 5 organizations in law enforcement that were involved in this case. It was a joint effort by the Louisiana Bureau of Investigation Cyber Crime Unit, the Accession Parish Sheriff's Office, the State Police, and Homeland Security Bureau of Investigation. If you are saying that you cannot prosecute this to the fullest, then you are calling those organizations incompetent. How can you put all of the human resources, the financial costs, the mental disturbance that all those people have to go through just to review the evidence? They had to watch that stuff. They had to look at those photos. Forget the actual victims of crime. What message are you sending anyone? I just don't get it. I think most of us don't get it. And when you just take a step back, you say, I think, again, the only thing that might ever make change for this is having, a proper judge sitting there that understands it and says to the DA, no, I'm not allowing I'm not allowing this plea deal. We're going to trial, which we've seen from a few of our favorite judges. Or I suppose just the public continuing to see these hearings and continuing to show outrage and eventually causing change within the DA. You know, that's where the pressure has to come from, because we can't rely on a few people to protect our children, even though really everyone did their job except the DA and the judge in this case. Anyways, thank you, Richard, for pointing out this hearing as always. And with that, I'll let you go.